Oh man, wait, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. I should have done the cover first before Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of BSing Sports, part of the BSing Network, where we do a little BS and Jake can't ever get this saying right.
No, it's just more fun to mess it up these days, I guess.
I can see you trying. Like, I see the gears turning, and I'm like, he's still going to screw it up. Like, it's perpetual. Like, at this point, we should just have like a remix version that you do. Our new intro is going to be me clipping shorts of you trying to say BS.
All the mess ups I have of it.
BS. Talk a whole lot of sports. He's trying real hard, ladies and gentlemen. But this morning, he doesn't have to try real hard because we're back in our wheelhouse. Jake looks like he has a nice little setup there. If you've been following along with us, last couple months we've been in and out. Jake's been from an Airbnb couch. But Jake, you finally have a house, it looks like.
Yeah, man. I finally got a little bit of the setup, waiting on some things to still come in. But we're going to set it up. We're going to have a good time, and I'm looking forward to it.
I love that setup, by the way. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what you got in the background there?
So, yes, we'll just start from here. Let's see. That one. That guy. That's a signed Terrell Davis. I think they only did 130 of those posters.
Clean setup from Joey Silva. Yep, Joey, I agree. Very clean setup.
Appreciate it, Joey. That's a signed Shaq picture, because who doesn't love Shaq? And then that's the infamous helicopter Super Bowl with John Elway, signed as well. And then, oh man,
you said infamous helicopter. My first thought was Kobe. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Damn, I think it's still too soon to be saying things like that.
Well, I mean, that just goes to, you can't say infamous helicopter anymore. That's not a thing. John Elway's not going to be the first thing people think about,
I guess. And so, a signed Calvin Ridley full replica helmet. Joe Theismann mini helmet signed from his Notre Dame Hall of Fame, College Football Hall of Fame. Njoku, always a good time. And then Tyrese Jackson. Terrence Marshall Jr. Holy cow.
Wow. You didn't even come close to getting that right.
Yeah, right. And then I'd have to look at the other ones. I completely forgot, not going to lie. And then, of course, we have the Krogan go-karting champion here. My family does go-kart championships. We're fun like that. I'm the champion right now. We'll see how that goes later.
Love that.
And the prize possessions here. As always. You were there. I got signed Peyton Manning.
And Joey and I, credit to Joey and I for making that happen.
Yeah, he bullied. Yeah, I won a bet, and so got bullied into doing it.
No regret, bro.
We got Steve Atwater. A random. Just a random. I like the logo. We got Champ Bailey signed, and then the recently inducted Randy Gradishar into the Hall of Fame helmet. So
best batsman all weekend, Joey Silva says. I gotta agree with that. Like, that's a fact.
Oh, absolutely. Best investment all weekend. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for giving me the rundown of the room. I'm probably going to end up altering my room here a little bit. I might get some like on the wall shelves, like the square ones you kind of have, post them on the wall, get some of my memorabilia that's down here on this shelf, like up on the wall so people can see it more. Yeah, I've got some creativity that I've got to go through and inspired by you there, sir. So thank you for that. But
do what I can.
yeah,
I will. I'll definitely be changing this up. We're gonna repaint the wall, and
get some
once
jerseys
my
up there.
jersey frames come in, I'm gonna put up all my signed jerseys, and it's gonna be a good time.
And naturally, I'm gonna hang this up.
As you should, as you're right. For those that are watching and don't know, we went to the Fantasy Football Expo last weekend and just had an absolute blast. Just
355 days until we're back.
There's so much to do and so many like-minded individuals that were just there for football and just having a great time. And you just can't beat that, honestly, for a weekend. But you want to jump into this?
Oh, yeah. So today's topic, we've got some preseason news, injuries, and a little bit more to cover. Just some random topics, maybe 45 minutes worth of show. This is kind of going to get the ball rolling for the season, though, because if you were on with us last year, Jake and I came on about 11 a.m. Eastern time and talked some, start sits for everybody. We talked some, DFS moves. We had a little bit of conversation. So this is kind of just to get the ball rolling and get set back up on that schedule. But we do have a lot of things that we've talked about because there was a lot of things we missed over, the last couple months just being a little bit in and out.
Yeah, behind the eight ball.
So, Dynasty talk, what's new? So, we're going to go through some, like I said, injuries, news, and more, some takes about some young players, how they've looked in the preseason so far. And we've got some equivalent pick values and some positional rankings based on keep, trade, cut. Now, if you followed us long enough, you know that we are not big proponents of keep, trade, cut. However, to deny that it is probably the most one-sourced place of information in the Dynasty arena would be foolish. So we are going to use it. However, that does not necessarily reflect the rankings of here BSing Sports. We do not necessarily agree with these values or these rankings. If you want to check out our rankings, we have them. Make sure you go tune in to our previous episodes on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anywhere you listen to podcasts. So first player we got to talk about here, JJ McCarthy. So obviously, massive injury news to J.J. McCarthy. His rookie season is over pretty much before it begins. Torn meniscus, out for the season. Currently sitting as the QB 20 on keep, trade, cut, and I'm sure that will probably fall a little bit more as we get into the season. Equivalent to a late 25 first or a mid 2026 first. Jake, go ahead and what's your take on J.J. McCarthy now?
Okay. Honestly, his value holds the same to me here. He got hurt, but what he did in that first preseason game, throwing for 2 touchdowns, had a bunch of yards, bunch of flash plays, people are going to hold on to that. So really, now you get to see what you get with Sam Darnold. You paid that man money to come there, and he was going to be the starter anyways. Like, let's be honest here. J.J. McCarthy was still learning the offense, and now he gets to learn the offense but take mental snaps. I think a late 2025 first is not a bad pickup for him. If you believe in him, me personally, I'm not a believer in J.J. McCarthy. I think he was the worst of the 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round. That's just my humble opinion. I don't think he has the elite arm strength, but he was never asked to do much at Michigan. And we were able to see, like, he will throw interceptions. He did that in his first preseason game. But he is able to make those deep ball throws, and he can go through the progression. So I think he can learn and be a great game manager. But as far as value goes for everybody else, I love Sam Darnold this year. He still has Addison. He still has JJ. Hawkinson's going to come later in the week. And you have Aaron Jones, who is going to give you the veteran back that you need to get receptions, pick up third down blocks. And I think he has a bigger year now, just solely off of that. And we saw the news that he's probably going to get 15 to 18 touches a game, which is kind of huge. So for Dynasty, I mean, you still love JJ. He's quarterback proof, as we've said time and time again. And Hawkinson, I like as a buy low candidate we've talked about previously. He's hurt, but he's proven time and time again that he is quarterback proof. And Addison, like, none of the values really changed for me there. Sam Darnold got to sit there. You get to see how he's going to act and be towards everything else, like playing wise. Why not? I believe in the system that he's in. And so you could probably trade him for an early second, and I'd take that in a heartbeat, honestly.
Trade who for an early second?
Darnold.
Yeah. I would not give up an early second for Sam Darnold, just specifically because this is a stopgap situation. And while, yes, I think it was pretty universally known that Sam Darnold was going to start the season as a starter, we had no idea how far into the season he was going to get as the starter. It could have been 4 weeks, could have been 8 weeks, could have been the bye week. Who knows? We anticipated at some point J.J. McCarthy would take over. So kind of on that same point, I don't really think that anybody in that offense's value changes too much, because I still believe in Kevin O'Connell and his ability to scheme players open. And I also believe that the value was baked in that Sam Darnold was at least the starter this year anyway. It doesn't move the needle for me. Now, as far as J.J. McCarthy goes, you might think this opens up a buy window opportunity, and it will. I just don't think right away, because him being young still, he turns 22 in January, which means he's going to be younger than probably a lot of the 2025 class anyway. So if you're worried, he's not one of those older quarterbacks. He's not like Bo Nix, but I don't think right now is the time to buy. I think week 5, week 6, a contender who was relying on McCarthy to maybe be his third QB, or even like somebody who's just, wasting away an IR spot. They're looking to gain a pick somewhere. I would go check in on J.J. McCarthy at that point, kind of when the news isn't so fresh, when he's a little bit more forgotten about. And you might be able to sneak a second in there. Who knows what the value goes for. But even if I was rebuilding, like I'd probably throw like a 26 first at J.J. McCarthy just to kind of get him on my roster. I believe in J.J. McCarthy. You said he doesn't really have the arm strength. I kind of disagree with that. It was on display in the first preseason game through a couple of deep ball dimes down the field. One of them was a far hash throw, which was very nice. And he does have that nice zip on the football. He wasn't asked to do a lot at Michigan, but in reality, just because you're not asked to do a lot doesn't mean you can't do a lot. We saw the mobility inside the pocket and out. I think this is a guy paired with Kevin O'Connell can do some damage, especially for fantasy, if he continues to move his legs the way that he did in the first preseason game. So J.J. McCarthy is somebody that I'm going to keep on my radar, particularly in my rebuild leagues where I'm like, hey, I've got this veteran, definitely could help you win more than J.J. McCarthy sitting on your IR. Let's talk about it.
Fair enough. Smart move, in my opinion.
Oh, okay. Here we go. J.J. McCarthy over Bo Nix, Zach Wilson, Jarrett Stidham. Yes, I actually agree with this, even though Gingy is trolling.
I do not one bit. Hey, Pete. No, but
what up, Pete? Bo Nix energy. He said Bo Nix or JJ in Dynasty. Close for me. I'm still rolling the dice on McCarthy, but this is really close. We actually have Bo Nix on our docket, so we'll get into that when we get into Bo Nix. But yeah, I'm taking JJ. Who are you taking?
I'm taking Bo Nix every day.
Okay, let me ask you this, because I do have to ask you this based on your history. If Bo Nix was not taken by the Denver Broncos, Bo Nix or JJ McCarthy?
Well, it depends on what team he's on, honestly. But I like Bo Nix and his accuracy, his quick release, his athletic ability to run and stuff like. And so they're similar, but at the end of the day, Bo Nix has all, like, most college games played. He has the experience. He's been down, like when he was at Auburn, he played terrible, and he's been through that route, went to Oregon, played great. And so there's just, to me, a more savvy veteran, 2 years older, more mature, and is he 3? Oh, yeah, he's 21
Bo Nix
now.
is 24, McCarthy's 21.
3 years older. To me, Bo Nix right now, just from a dynasty perspective, and what I know as a Denver fan and what I've seen, he's going to run. He's going to get the quick throws. He's going to go through the progressions. And Sean Payton, I don't know if people are low on him as far as like offensive masterminds and what he does, but he plays and tailors, and I will talk to this later when we talk about Bo Nix, to his quarterback.
Yeah, he did such a great job of that with Russell Wilson that the Denver Broncos are eating $85 million in dead cap.
I will bring this to I mean, if
we're also going to talk about Russell Wilson too. Funny enough. No,
we are. I have Bo Nix and all the stats you want for this Russell Wilson nonsense.
But I'm personally on the JJ train. Being 3 years younger does help. I think whatever Bo Nix does, JJ McCarthy does slightly better. I think he's slightly more mobile. I think he has slightly better arm strength. I also think he can read defense better. But Bo Nix is not bad at those things. Again, we will talk about Bo Nix here later in the show. Good question there, Pete. I know he's a Broncos fan, so I know he's going to ride with Bo Nix, but
I don't trust JJ McCarthy. It has nothing to do with a Broncos fan. Like I said,
I think JJ McCarthy's in a better long-term spot. Like when he comes back next year, he's got Hockenson, he's got Addison, he's got JJ, he's got Kevin O'Connell,
and we'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah, that's really it, because all we've seen is these dudes take some preseason snaps, which doesn't mean anything to me.
Yep.
Speaking of Russell Wilson, Steelers quarterback. So we've got the Steelers quarterback conundrum. Russell Wilson currently valued as the QB 34 on Keep Trade Cut. For those of you just tuning in, we do not religiously use Keep Trade Cut, but however, there is a large group of Dynasty people that do. So using it just as a talking point, as a guiding point to values, we don't necessarily agree with these straight up. Let's just go ahead and get that out of there. So Russell Wilson, QB 34, worth an early 2025 third. Justin Fields, QB 28, equivalent to a mid-2025 second or an early 2026 second. Jake, break it down. Russell Wilson was your boy. Now he's not. Who you want in Dynasty? Who do you think's the better asset here?
I mean, Dynasty, you're speaking Justin Fields here as far as rushing upside and just younger, way younger. And Russell Wilson, and we'll just bring the stats here because this is what I want to talk about earlier.
True Six King says Broncos have no money, trash teams, and terrible coaches. Bo Nix can't fix. I like that. You should get that on a T-shirt. Bo Nix can't fix.
But okay, Russell Wilson last year finished in PPR in our format. Quarterback 14.
Okay,
that is a QB2. You are happy with that? He threw for 3,000 yards, 26 to 8. Touchdown interception, and he rushed for 341 yards and 3 touchdowns. That is his best fantasy performance since 2020. And I'm not knocking it. He finished 16 before at Denver, and just has been a laughingstock. He doesn't throw over the middle of the field. He's getting older. He's 35, and the wheels are falling off. I don't think the offensive talent at the Steelers is as good. It's pretty much the same as it was at Denver. So you're getting that. Meanwhile, you have Justin Fields, who has finished as the QB1 multiple times with his rushing upside. And so to me, that's who you want. He will probably be, if not the starter week 1, going into the future, will be the starter because you got to see what you have with him. You got Russell Wilson for nothing. So if you can trade Russell Wilson and get that third, I think you get a late second, honestly, if he's named the starter. That's what you do there for dynasty purposes because I don't think Russ is playing much longer.
I think that early third might even have Russ being the starter baked into his value. I don't know that it climbs anymore if he's named the starter, but I've said this before. I'll say it again. I don't hate players. I hate values. And right now, a mid-25 second is really rich for Justin Fields. Like, Justin Fields is not a good NFL quarterback. There is a much wider path where Justin Fields never starts regularly in the NFL again. And for me, that's too risky to pay a mid-2025 second for or an early 2026 second for. Given the value, if I am a contender, I am at least intrigued by being able to throw a third-round pick at Russell Wilson and hope that, maybe he holds the job for half the season or even all season. Like, it's a third-round pick. At that point, I'm not even concerned about it. But, a mid-25 second, too much for Justin Fields for me. So I'm personally taking Russell Wilson just because I feel like the value's better. But yes, the wheels are falling off that bus. If I can get one more good fantasy season out of him, I would be A-okay. That being said, if I'm rebuilding, I'm avoiding the hell out of both of these guys. Ain't no way I'm about to spend valuable assets on guys who may not even start in 2025.
Okay. I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, I just the value for Justin Fields is too rich. Early 2026 second for nope, pass. Respect, but pass.
Okay.
So what about the rest of the offense? Who benefits most from each starter?
Well, right now, to me, the only Steeler I want on this team is Najee Harris, especially with Warren going down in yesterday's game. It's Najee Harris's backfield, and I don't trust Pickens to consistently contribute. I think he's going to have his boomer bust games like he always does. And then, I mean, I love Roman Wilson, love him coming out of college. I just think he has an ankle injury right now. With the quarterback play, he's not going to get the volume that it really matters. And Pat Frymouth, we talked about if Justin Fields is the starter, you want him. If Russell Wilson's the starter, you don't want him.
Yeah.
So it's all going to come down to quarterback play. These are all crapshoots, but the only player I know for a fact will be consistent, I think, is Najee Harris.
Yeah, I would actually agree with that take. I'd probably be okay if Pickens was maybe my wide receiver 3 or somebody that I had to flex on a weekly basis. But I'm not putting a ton of stock into George Pickens, hoping that he's going to give me like consistent wide receiver 2 production on a week-to-week basis. Even if it is Russell Wilson, it's just there's too many variables there. That offense kind of scares me. But I do agree. I think Najee's probably the safest play, particularly at his value. I would assume he's probably worth a mid-second. I didn't go ahead and grab those numbers off of Keep Trade Cut, but that's probably what I pay for him. I sold him earlier in the offseason for $207 in a league that I was rebuilding in. I'd probably pay somewhere around there for him at this point in time.
It's funny. I can't get him for a second right now. I've tried in multiple leagues.
Well, if Monty owns him, remember, Monty has like this weird attachment to Alabama players. So.
No. Sadly, there's a ton of Alabama players.
Yeah. And of course, all the Alabama players are buy lows, and Monty's not willing to give up on any of them.
Right. But before we go, we got a lot of people watching. We do appreciate y'all. If you could go to YouTube and like and subscribe and help us build this channel, we would gladly appreciate it. We love it. Give us your takes like Pete did. We will give you our takes on it. We will give you the best advice we can. We are in a ton of Dynasty leagues. And so we love doing this. And that's the only reason we do it is to bring y'all good content. So
I'm trying to get like that dude that's in 400 leagues. If I can live off my VA disability and the money that I win from 400 leagues, I'm in there, baby.
We love it. But
oh, man. We got to talk about this guy here. Got to talk about this guy. So we are in a Dynasty startup right now. We are currently in round 10. I think we just turned over slow draft. Don't know why we're doing a Dynasty startup this late in the offseason, but it is what it is. Caleb Williams has done some pretty impressive things through 2 preseason games as an NFL player. Obviously, the easy 101 in the NFL drafts. You know, some people during the offseason, 101 or 102 with him and Marvin Harrison Jr. in Superflex leagues. Caleb Williams currently valued as the QB6 on Keep Trade Cut. His value in picks, you would have to pay an early and a mid 2025 first. Jake, is he a cornerstone QB1 for your Dynasty teams?
I think he has the ability to be one. He is still a rookie, and we have a lot to see. I'm trying to look up the stats real quick because I saw this interesting stat that he makes all these electric plays, but he's only completing like 56% of his passes. So I'm looking that up as we speak.
Yeah, he went 6 for 13 yesterday. It was sub 50%.
Yeah, and you don't want to see that. Yeah, you can make all the splash plays you want, but don't believe all the media that you're seeing. I think he has potential. But even Patrick Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith. And, like, that's the comp he's getting. He sat a year. Learn the offense. Caleb Williams doesn't get to do that.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Let me interject real quick because there's 21 people watching, and I want all 21 people to listen to this. Caleb Williams is a much better prospect than Patrick Mahomes was. Like, let's not get what Patrick Mahomes turned into confused with what Patrick Mahomes was coming out of college. He was a project quarterback who landed in the ultimately best spot possible. Does Caleb Williams have some flaws in his game? Yes, of course. but he is a much better prospect than Patrick Mahomes was. That's my take on that situation. Go ahead.
Oh, I got you. And so he went 6-13, and so I mean that's below 50%, and that's what scares me. Is I don't want him to lose his confidence. I know he'll have the talent around him, which is what everybody wants. Like as a rookie quarterback, you have the talent, so everything is set up for him to have a great year, and I think he can be the cornerstone. So I would take that gamble, being the gambling man I am.
I would too.
Pat and Matt that got to experience that firsthand at the expo.
Yeah, I might take that gamble too. I mean, especially if I'm a rebuild because I have less to lose. But even if I'm a contender and I pair him with like another B tier quarterback, if you reference our tiers, like I'm okay. I'm very okay with that because, as I said before, it might only take one game in the NFL for me to be like, yep, Caleb Williams jumps into the A tier. He jumps into my top 10, that kind of thing. It really is just a matter of that close for me. And while, yes, the numbers never lie, they also don't tell the whole story. I didn't watch any of the Bears game yesterday except for, the touchdown run, which – A, the pocket presence to know where the pass rushers were was incredible, and B, the run itself was fantastic. And then the play before that, the throw to Rome Odunze, A, that was a dot because Rome Odunze was covered, and B, again, pocket awareness, rolling out to the left. Like the eye test, you see some great things on plays like that, but then you see some happy feet in the pocket. You see some overthrows. You see lazy arm angles. You see Shane Waldron, who's probably the worst offensive coordinator in the NFL, absolutely screwing this up for Caleb Williams this year, which is my hope as a dynasty player. I really, really hope Shane Waldron just jacks this whole thing up this year and tank Caleb Williams' value, and then they can him in the offseason and I can buy Caleb Williams cheap. That's my long-term goal there, is to hope Shane Waldron messes this up so bad that I can attain Caleb Williams cheap next year. That being said,
hold up. I want to ask the chat something real quick. If they could type it in, it doesn't matter what platform you're on, we will see it. I took Caleb Williams in this startup draft that we're just doing at 111 over Anthony Richardson. Who would you rather have? Anthony Richardson or Caleb Williams at the 111?
Yeah.
So just hit us up in the chat, and I'm just kind of curious if I was smart or not smart about that.
I think it's close, man. I mean, again, tier off for me, but Caleb Williams, as I stressed before, could very easily have been in my A tier. I just prefer, like, Anthony Richardson played 33% of the snaps in a game and scored 19 fantasy points. Like that's just unmatched. That's crazy upside. But yes, I do think that there's a path either or. I'd prefer Richardson. You prefer Williams. It is what it is.
I could see both going great. It's just I don't have any Caleb Williams shares, so that was my first one I got. And so
that was a great position to be in too. And I passed on him. It was either between him or Sun God, but my theory was, why take the 8th quarterback off the board when I can take the 4th wide receiver? I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
So, and plus Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver 3 last year, he's going to average, elite quarterback numbers per game this season anyway. So I'm not stressed out about it too much.
Honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's Rams House 99 comments. I'm going to start up right now. My team is Caleb, Kyler, Odunze, McBride, Jacobs, Higgins, McConkey. Full PPR, but 1.75 premium for tight end. Superflex start 11. Should I go Hawkinson, Reed, Zamir White, or Ingram? Oh, man. Beep, beep. Here comes the Evan Ingram train. Beep, beep.
I was just
so easy. I'll tell you what. I'm in the startup that we are in right now. I am a huge best player available guy. Draft for value, trade for need. I have Sam Laporta. It's a tight end premium league. I have Sam Laporta, Travis Kelce, and Evan Ingram. I'm going to start all 3 every week. Not only does it, A, give me a premium position, right? I now have a leg up over the entire league. There are 4 teams that haven't even drafted a tight end. So I expect trade calls from them at some point when they realize their tight end room is significantly worse than mine. And B, you're still going to get great production. In the scoring format of our startup, I don't know the math for yours, Sam Laporta had wide receiver 5 numbers. Evan Ingram had wide receiver 7 numbers, and Travis Kelce would have been wide receiver 11 if you moved all those tight end scores over to wide receivers. So I essentially just drafted 3 wide receiver ones at a position that's extremely thin. Like, you can't go wrong with doing that.
Yeah, and so I take it you're taking Ingram here, right?
Oh, yeah, easy.
My only concern with that is your receivers are unproven and inconsistent at best. Like Higgins is a wide receiver too. Every year, like we have the T. Higgins tier now. It was the DJ Moore tier, but he grew up into a big man last year.
Yeah, that's true. T. Higgins tier now.
Rome Odunze, unproven rookie. I think he has elite talent, as we just saw in this last preseason game. And the connection with Williams, as you have right there, I think that in the future is going to be great. Lad McConkey is the question mark here because he could be great, but we have no idea. He could be a dud. The Chargers offense scares the crap out of me right now. The only consistent player I can think of there is Justin Herbert.
Yeah, he's the only one that I want from him and Josh Palmer. I do Josh Palmer.
So I could see you taking Reed here, but no, I would go Ingram and go for Dobbs or Christian Watson in the next round, or like wherever their ADP is. I don't know it right now, but
Watson.
Those are where you want to go. Yes,
Christian Watson.
I'm a big Dobbs fan right now, so I could be a little biased there. But that's what I would do if I was in your shoes with those picks that you just gave me.
The only thing that scares me about Jaden Reed, and I've said this multiple times in the offseason, in PPR formats, he scored 10 touchdowns last year, right? So Christian Watson missed a lot of the time on the season. I believe Luke Musgrave missed time on the season, and Dontavian Wicks wasn't fully developed, and he still may not be, but I expect him to have a bigger role. With all that being said, Jaden Reed scored 10 touchdowns and still didn't even crack the top 24. So how much better is he really going to get? How much more volume plus 10 touchdowns is he really going to get? I think Jaden Reed is a little overpriced. I think he's a bit of a sell. And when you look at the numbers, Christian Watson had a 27% target share in the games that he played, like 5% more than Jaden Reed. I think Watson's the guy to own, especially when you consider that he's being drafted after Jaden Reed. So
question is staying healthy. And then if he can't stay healthy, that's why I love Dobbs at his ADP where he's at. Dobbs is a consistent flex player that you can play, and he can bolster your lineup there. So I do like that lineup, though. That's a solid team right there.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs for me is the outlier here. It's interesting. If Josh Jacobs doesn't really fit the build of this team, you can kind of go a year or two not making the playoffs with everybody else, but Josh Jacobs is going to be cooked by then.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, so Caleb Williams. There was some other point I wanted to bring up about Caleb Williams, but nonetheless, yeah, he's done pretty well so far. Like I said, I'm looking to hopefully my grand scheme comes into effect, like I said, where Shane Waldron really screws this up for Caleb Williams. Worst offensive coordinator in the NFL. So I should have brought this up. I should have put this on the document. I don't have their values, so you just have to kind of go off of what you've seen around the leagues. Which of the 3 wide receivers would you want the most?
Oh, out of DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Rome Odunze? Just off of value, I know for us, just in this redraft, I know Rome Odunze is going ahead of DJ Moore, which I think is a kind of disrespect to DJ Moore because he's consistent as they get. And last year, what he did with no quarterbacks, DJ Moore is the one I want. That is the receiver I want out of that. Keenan Allen, no disrespect. He's done great things for many years. He's older. And so from a dynasty perspective, I'll take the wide receiver. How old is he? 26, 27?
27.
27. I'll take that for 3 more years and be happy in that offense. And Rome Odunze is the long-term play. If you're rebuilding, that's the guy I think you could take, and you should take probably, but it's not as close as people are making it out. Rome Odunze is a little overvalued for me. I like DJ Moore here.
Oh, yeah. I again, love values, or don't hate players. I hate values. And I love DJ Moore's value right now. 136 targets last year, second most he's seen in his career. By the way, on a team that threw the ball less than everybody else in the NFL. He saw 136 targets last year. That number is inevitably going to go up with the addition of Caleb Williams, with Shane Waldron there, with no real solid running game. DeAndre Swift is going to probably be the lead back there, but what's he most known for? Catching the football. So I expect a lot more passing volume. Yes, there's a lot more competition, but DJ Moore is extremely efficient too. I think he's the alpha there for the next couple of years. And the Bears think so as well because they just paid him some alpha money for a 3-year contract extension.
I'm gonna whisper this one because I don't want everybody to do it, but
what'd you say?
No? Cole Kmet is somebody you should look at.
No, we got to get off the Cole Kmet train.
No, choo-choo, motherfucker. Cole Kmet is there.
Yeah, Cole Kmet is a hill that you are willing to die on. And
I will die on that hill. Yeah. I promise you that. I love the connection I saw week 1 with it.
I don't hate Kmet at his value. I don't.
But I'm trying to buy up every Cole Kmet share I can. The man proved it. I don't know what else you want from a man.
And it pains me that Cole Kmet, Notre Dame product, right? I just don't necessarily have any of him. I'm not excited to get Cole Kmet. If he's my tight end 2 on my roster, I'm good with it, but I'm not looking to start Cole Kmet. Yeah, I'm not looking to start Cole Kmet every week.
Send a second.
Let's get into our next topic here. Bills wide receiver room. So we got to discuss this right here. Bills wide receiver room can get a little tricky. We've got Curtis Samuel currently valued as the wide receiver 61, equal to a late 2025 second or a mid 2026 second. Khalil Shakir, wide receiver 54, actually a tier up, equal to a mid 2025 second or an early 2026 second. And Keon Coleman, wide receiver 33, late 2025 first or late 2026 first. Again, these are the keep trade cut values, not the values that reflect us here at BSing Sports. Jake, who are you looking to acquire out of these 3 names, if any of them?
So I'll die on this hill as well. Khalil Shakir will finish the season as the top wide receiver on that team. And that is the guy I want. I don't hate Curtis Samuel. Keon Coleman is unproven to me. And we just saw he ran a slant route. Great. Got open. It was beautiful. Quarterback kind of overthrew him a little bit. And it's preseason game, so I don't blame him for not putting his body on the line there. He would have took a lick. But
hey, man, nobody can put in less effort than Adonai Mitchell.
Ain't that the truth? We are big AD haters on this, podcast, that's for sure. But, I want Shakir. Last year, what he did at the end of the season, and then what you just saw in the first week of preseason, he went to him like 4 times, I think Josh Allen did. That is his security blanket. When things break down, that's who he's looking for, and that's the receiver I want. It was Diggs before he left. That is who he's looking for, Shakir. I like Curtis Samuel. I think he's good. But as far as value goes, I'll give up a second for Shakir.
Yeah, I'd give up a second for Shakir too.
That's one value I agree with.
Yeah. I'd gamble mid 2025 second for Shakir. I'm a firm believer that there are 2 habitually overrated assets in Dynasty for as long as they exist. It's 3rd quarterback on your roster in Superflex and 2nd round rookie draft picks. I think year in, year out, they're going to be overvalued assets. But anyway, yeah, I would throw mid 2025 second at Khalil Shakir and see what happens. I think that there's more of a route for him to be the wide receiver 1 on this team this year than Keon Coleman. At that 1st round pick value for Keon Coleman, I'm selling him almost every time for any 1st round pick that I can get my hands on. Look, we've talked about it on our rookie breakdowns. This is a guy not particularly fast, does have strong hands, is a go up and get it kind of guy, but how does that translate to fantasy value? Well, outside of DeAndre Hopkins, there aren't really too many big-bodied, close contested catch guys that consistently produce year in, year out for fantasy. For every DeAndre Hopkins, there's a Treylon Burks, there's a Quentin Johnston, there's a Denzel Mims. There's so many guys that just absolutely flop because they don't see consistent targets. And I think Keon Coleman not being, a fantastic separator is a concern for me, and it's something that I'm absolutely avoiding. He could turn out to be great, and I will come on here and eat crow, no problem. But that's a guy who if I can get a 2025 first for Keon Coleman, I'm just re-rolling the dice. I'll flip it again.
Honestly, that's what I'm doing as well.
So, yeah, out of these 3, Khalil Shakir for me, Curtis Samuel, another one. I have no problem buying either of those and kind of just saying like one of these guys is going to do something on a week-to-week basis, right? But obviously Kincaid's the guy you want there.
I'm going to bring this up real quick. Timmy, that's the Buffalo Bills wide receiver room. We're not doing any doing any teams.
Yeah,
we're not doing any league look-ats right now.
Yeah, Buffalo Bills, not your brother Bills.
Not your brother's Bills.
Trust me, I'd be on here like these teams are trash.
Right?
No, but Bill is a very running back heavy guy, and I will leave it at that. So, yeah, we kind of agree. Khalil Shakir. I also like Curtis Samuel. Last time he was paired with Joe Brady, had a wide receiver 27 finish on the season. I will throw a late 20-25 second at that all day.
To the next one.
This is one you're going to love.
We'll see.
Pete, where you at? Where you at, Supernova? It's time.
Pete Nova, buddy. Bo Nix, you have him as the quarterback 21, a late 2025 first or a late 2026 first. I would gladly give up either of those for Bo Nix, honestly.
All right. We gotta remove him from the Denver Broncos. Let's put him on the Raiders. Are you doing the same thing on the Raiders?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's probably the guy I've seen the most of. And so I'm confident in his ability and what he brings to the table. And you give him Adams, you give him 2 elite tight ends in Mayer and
I mean, I wouldn't call Mayer elite.
I think Mayer is definitely undervalued, but now he's kind of
that's different than elite.
Fair enough. Good point. Poor choice of words there, buddy.
But yeah, I mean, I
think Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix there is a quarterback 2 regardless, and that's what we have him at. I think he does everything that Russell Wilson does last year, who finished, like I brought up earlier, as a QB 14, which is a high-end quarterback 2. I think he does that this year with the same receiving core, essentially, a Javonte Williams, Jaleel McLaughlin duo, and Javonte's 2 years. Okay, here we go.
Jake, I hope you got nothing planned today.
What?
Our viewership's creeping up there. You know what happens when we hit 50, right?
I was going to say every 10 views we get, I'll shotgun a beer, but I was not going to go that far.
For those of you that don't know what that comment is in reference to, Jake and I did a 2.5-hour podcast in the middle of the offseason when we took a vacation to a cabin in the woods, and we hit 50 views, or we hit 40 views, and then he shotgunned a beer. And then he said, when we hit 50 views, I'll shotgun another beer. And we hit 50 views. So currently we're at 35. If you can get us to 50 views, Jake will come on here and shotgun a beer. And, hopefully he's got nothing planned for the rest of the day. That's not really my problem.
It's fine. At 50, I will gladly shotgun a beer.
But at real 10... quick, let me post this again. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're doing giveaways probably once every couple weeks. We've got some massive card collectors on the channel here, guys who, just balls to the wall with their card collecting. So we've got some value here. We've got some stuff that we want to give away. And there's 2 things you got to do. You'll have to like and retweet the posts that are made when I make them. And then you have to subscribe to our YouTube channel to be entered into the drawing. We've already had a couple winners. Just gave away an Ellie De La Cruz card last weekend. It's fantastic. So, and we gave away a card last year too. So,
yeah, definitely going to be giving away more cards.
All we subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be on the lookout for those on Twitter. So, yeah, Bo Nix. Back to Bo Nix.
Back to Bo Nix, he says. Okay. But Bo Nix. Ooh. Hey, City Stars. Pretty sure. Oh, man. Oh, man.
Dude, that.
If I had a glass, I'd do it, but I'm going to shotgun it like a college student and call it a day.
Yeah, that. Oh, man, City Stars. I'm glad you brought that up. I almost forgot about that. For those of you that have never seen Jake chug a beer out of a glass, it is a sight to behold.
You know what? If we get to 50, I might show him and we'll call it a day.
Yeah, you're going to have to do an up close to the camera. I want people to see it. I want you to see it. Like, chug how you normally would chug. We'll come back, watch the video. We'll study the film. We'll do a breakdown. We'll get you better for next time.
Tim Hawkins says Bo Nix could have a steady career at QB2. I absolutely believe that.
It's funny you say that because on the show doc, the question is, can Bo Nix be a viable QB2 on your dynasty roster moving forward?
Absolutely. I think so. I think, like I said, Sean Payton is an offensive mastermind. Tim over here, I have a card that people might get interested in. Curious to see what that is.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what that is.
Cards that, man, I have way too many cards. But Sean Payton, offensive mastermind, can totally unlock Bo Nix's potential like he did Russell Wilson, who had his best season since 2020. I'm going to die on that hill. And we saw it in week 1 with that out route to Mims, the touchdown he threw. It's just a quick read. He knew exactly where he wanted to go with the ball, and he is getting the confidence that you want. And I think he understands this offense. I think Sean Payton understands Bo Nix and what they're going to do and what they want to accomplish. So, yes, he is a viable QB2, and if you could get that for a first, I'm all about it. I would make a solid bet that if he starts the season, he will finish above QB20.
Okay. I don't hate that take. I actually think that's a very respectable position. This will go to show that I don't just hate Jake's takes about the Broncos and his like uber emotional tie to them in fantasy. I actually agree with what you just said. I think Bo Nix is a fantastic QB2 option moving forward, particularly in a rebuild. If I'm contending, that may not be a risk I want to take. I'd be safer with him as my QB3. But if I'm rebuilding, I'm absolutely paying QB2 prices for him and hoping, that I can ride that bus into the sunset. I think Bo Nix is smarter, having a lot of college games under his belt. I think he can run a complex offense. That touchdown pass that you referenced to Mims, granted it's just preseason, there was motion on that play, and there's a lot of quarterbacks that don't really handle motion that well. That's why you see simplified offenses. I think it was a perfect play. He knew exactly where he wanted to go to the ball and put velocity on it, got it there. It was beautiful play design, beautiful read, beautifully executed. I don't think that he's, the most like physically gifted quarterback where he's going to do Patrick Mahomes crazy stuff, but I think he's big enough. I think he's strong enough. I think he's mobile enough that he has a steady QB2 floor and may peak into QB1, weeks throughout his career. I do question the receiving core, the pass catching options there. I know emotionally you probably don't really want to hear this, but in all actuality, the Broncos do not have a viable receiver on their roster. Cortland Sutton is largely inflated from 10 touchdowns last year. Let's be honest, doesn't see consistent volume, is not, again, a great separator. He falls more into that D-Hop, Treylon Burks, Quentin Johnston type frame where he's just not a good route runner. You're making all these faces, but I have all the numbers in the world to support that take. So, again, you're very emotionally invested.
I just want to see what the keep trade cut value is for him.
I mean, but I'm talking about Bo Nix's real life and how it translates to his dynasty value. Like Cortland Sutton,
rushing upside,
is not a number one receiver in the NFL. That's why the Broncos are so bad. Let's be honest. Part of the reason is they don't have any good pass catching options.
Oh man, they have Cortland Sutton going for a late 2025 second.
Which, as a contender, you should do.
Absolutely. He is the wide receiver 1 on that team.
Granted, he's not a NFL wide receiver 1, but he will have some good weeks.
He is getting up there in age. It is a sad fact of life. But I do love him.
Is Troy Franklin hurt? Haven't heard much about him in the preseason games. Troy Franklin is cooked. Troy Franklin, to me, was cooked when he got drafted in the 4th round.
Troy Franklin and Tim Hawkins, I'll give you the inside scoop. He is a year away from being relevant. He gets open, but he the same thing he had in college, he drops balls. He's not a great locator of the ball over his shoulders, and he has the tendency to just drop catchable balls. And so he gets open. That was never a question. And he's fast as lightning. And but he's fast as lightning. But he's a year removed. He needs to be in that offense, needs to build up consistency, and that's what you're going to wait for. There's not a lot of buzz. He got overthrown by Zach Wilson in the first preseason. He was open, but he's running with the thirds and the seconds. He's not getting the first team reps right now.
I think he's cooked.
And he could be cooked. From a
dynasty perspective, I was out on him the second he was drafted in the 4th round. City Stars, what are your top 3 must-have rookies this year?
Ooh, this year. I mean, instantly you got to – this year you have to have Marvin Harrison Jr. and Neighbors in my – like those two.
Well, I mean, are you asking more so for like non-obvious ones? Because obviously, I want Marvin Harrison Jr. and Caleb Williams and Brock Bowers. Those are guys that I want. But are you asking like mid-tier players? Because this is one that I definitely want. This one right here. After that clip came out of him getting bullied one time on press coverage, I was like, man, I hope people sell him like crazy.
That's such a funny video, though. It's so good. It looks like a pinball.
The route that he ran to catch the touchdown pass from Carson Wentz, I don't know if you saw the separation he got at the top of the route. That was insane.
Man, that's a hot take, Tim Hawkins. Okay, so yes, Worthy for sure is going to be a star in that offense. I don't care what anybody says.
Jalen Polk is my other one.
Ooh.
Like, people are so on this Javon Baker train. Like, Jalen Polk was drafted by the same team except 2 rounds earlier. The Patriots believe Jalen Polk is 2 rounds of the NFL draft better than Javon Baker. And he's going for like mid-seconds. Like, there's a very
plays in these preseasons right now.
Very easy path where he's the number 1 wide receiver this year on that team.
Okay, so Worthy isn't really considered mid-tier. I know you're a big Ben Sinnott guy.
Oh yeah, Ben Sinnott all the way. Team Ben Sinnott. Like, there's Brock Bowers, there's Ben Sinnott, and then there's like everybody else. Guy caught 48 passes in college last year and broke 14 tackles, and he's north of 250 pounds. Like, you watch this guy play, he's so agile and he's huge. So, yeah, Ben Sinnott, Jalen Polk are 2 of mine. I'll let you sit there and ponder over 2 of yours. Let's do 4.
Dude, I'm trying to think. I love Baker. Yes, he had 2 drops, but did Ladd play last night? I sadly, I was busy like cleaning the house and stuff that I didn't get to watch much football yesterday, and I'm kind of sad about it.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch a ton of football yesterday either. I was actually kind of doing the same thing, cleaning up the house, doing some yard work, but I didn't see him play. I think, again, there's a path where he's the number 1 wide receiver on the team. Ultimately, I do believe that Josh Palmer ends up being the number 1 wide receiver. But even if he's the number 2 wide receiver, like, Justin Herbert's a good enough quarterback that he can make them both relevant.
I think Polk, like you said, Polk is good. Any receiver in that offense that you could have got, I think, is a play because any of them can be. And just like the Chargers with Ladd McConkey, is a person you want because any of them can become a wide receiver 1 relevance. And I'm trying to pull up our draft in this and trying to see what players I'm not able to think of right now.
Hey, that's great. That's like that draft from the one dude we were talking to at the expo. God, I wish I could remember his name, where he said they did an entire fantasy draft, right? It was just him and like an 8-man league. I don't know what the settings were. But what they did, they shut their laptops off, they shut the TV off, they put their phones away, and they had to draft the entire thing off of memory.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And the waiver wires go crazy. I'm like, we should do something like that next year.
Okay, so here's the guys I love. Now that I got to pull it up. With names. Sadly, I'm going to eat my words here. I think Trey Benson is a need just because if James Conner goes down hurt, he's going to get all the touches.
The tables have turned.
Yeah, I knew I was going to eat this one.
Biggest Trey Benson hater.
I am a big Trey Benson hater, but volume's volume. You do have Brian Thomas Jr., but he was the first-round draft pick in most things, so not really mid-tier. And then Blake Corum, great handcuff. I think those two running backs are what you want as handcuffs because the other running backs get hurt. Smaller running back in Williams. And then Ricky Pearsall, if Ayuk ever gets traded, would be an interesting pick.
Ayuk's going to be a 49er.
I know he is. Like, it's gone too long. If it was going to happen, it was going to be last week when all the buzz was around.
Yep.
And then Roman Wilson is just a guy I love for talent-wise and for what you can get for him. And there's not much wide receiver competition for Pittsburgh, but there's also very bad quarterback play. So those would be my three. Benson, Corum, Wilson.
Yeah, I'm Sinnott, Jalen Polk, and then another one that intrigues me. This isn't necessarily for. I have two that necessarily don't intrigue me for this year, but for 2025, it's Jermaine Burton and Marshawn Lloyd.
Fair enough. Okay, on to the next. We got sidetracked there. Great questions, though, everybody. We appreciate it.
Great questions. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. We will, stop our content definitely to help you answer your questions, and we'll be doing this 11 a.m. every Sunday, probably until the regular season's over. Because there's DFS, there's best ball club, there's start sit. We've got all kinds of stuff we can talk about. So Rams wide receiver room, really two wide receivers here. I know people love Jordan Whittington, but he's not really on the radar yet. I don't expect him to have, even a decent season unless somebody gets hurt, right? So you've got Cooper Kupp, wide receiver 36, a late 2025 first or late 2026 first. Puka Nacua. Now this one shocked me, right? And this is where I come out and I'm like, wide receiver 7 would take an early 25 first and early 25 second to get him according to keep trade cut. If I can get that for Puka, I'm selling. Like, goodbye. So fast.
Bye, buddy.
Like, gone.
It was nice to have you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Cooper Kupp is the wide receiver one in this offense until Matthew Stafford dies. Let's be honest here. He gets all the volume. He got hurt last year. Granted, when they were on the field, Puka at the beginning where he had the 15 targets, 10-catch game in week 2 that sent him off. People forget Kupp is the wide receiver one seeing all the double coverage and everything. And so Puka got to get comfortable, become good. Puka, I think, is a good receiver. I'm not taking that away from him. But as far as for fantasy football, you want the consistency of Kupp. You're going to get Puka Nacua, who put up very consistent numbers, wide receiver 7, as we all saw. But I don't know if he can be consistent.
There is one number, one stat that I have that jumps off the page that makes me go, yes, I want Cooper Kupp at his value way over Puka Nacua. Do I get as many years with Kupp? No, I don't. Obviously, if I was rebuilding, I would rather have Puka, but maybe not even at that cost. That's a different sidebar conversation. Cooper Kupp was 10th in the NFL in red zone targets last year amongst wide receivers and played 12 games.
I was about to say, he missed 5 games.
Yeah, he played 12 games and was number 10 overall. He was on pace to have more than CeeDee Lamb, who was number 1 with 27. Like, he is like red zone targets equals touchdowns, and Matthew Stafford loves Cooper Kupp in the red zone. So, yes, I'm taking Cooper Kupp at that value all day. And with that kind of insane red zone volume in an offense that actually should move the football and be pretty good, yeah, I would rather gamble on Cooper Kupp for a late 25 first than Puka at an early 25 first and early 25 second.
I love that take. Absolutely.
Here we go. Blake Corum will be more involved than expected, I think. I disagree.
Yeah, I want to know why you think this, Tim Hawkins, because what have you seen? I mean, I know you're an Eagles fan. Do you got an inside knowledge to the Rams training camp that I don't know about?
But I think people expect Blake Corum to be involved because he was a 3rd-round pick. I think that pick was a product of, hey, at one point last year, we had to call Darrell Henderson off his couch to go play running back for us, and we can't have that happen again.
Don't get me wrong. If Williams goes down, Blake Corum is going to have a year.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to have a great year. I don't think that.
But at earliest, I could see him getting involved like week 10.
Take some of the tread off of Williams.
Yeah. I think Sean McVay probably views Kyren Williams as his next, and I'm not comparing these two players in the sense of their talent, but in the sense of the situation. Todd Gurley probably views him as his workhorse. Hey, this guy's going to play until he can't. And then Blake Corum will be there when he can. But yeah, I think this was more of a move of, hey, we have a desperate need to fill our backfield because calling Darrell Henderson off his couch cannot happen again. This is why Ryan asked me about Williams last night, LMFAO. Yes, because I thoroughly believe that Kyren Williams is the workhorse. That could be infinitely wrong. I have no inside information to, substantiate that take, but that is why I asked about that, yes. And no, I am not going to go ahead and overpay for him because I feel like he's the running back one. I'm not Jake. Don't try that.
I just got an alert that said fantasy football personalities. Every league has its cast of characters, and it goes the expert, the homer, the troll, and I was just like, I'm the homer. That's for sure.
Yes, you are. Trying to get a Broncos player off of you is one of the most painful experiences I've ever had in my life, and I've sat in a gas chamber in basic training.
Amen, brother. Amen.
All right, so we got a couple more topics here.
Just a few more.
Yeah, Rams wide receiver room. I'm with Kupp, especially at that value. Puka at that value is a huge sell for me.
Here, I'm gonna go grab that beer to entice people to share the video.
Yeah. I saw 37 there for a little bit. Let's get it up to 40. LMAO, come on, just overpay and help my team out a little bit more. No, I will pay fair value for Kyren Williams, regardless of what my take is on him, because simply put, I can be wrong. I've been wrong before. Wide receiver Washington room question would be, which, if any, of these assets do I want to target? So we've got Terry McLaurin valued at the wide receiver 37 on Keep Trade Cut. A late 25 or late 26 first would get that done according to those values. Jahan Dotson, wide receiver 58, late 25 second or mid 26 second. Zach Ertz is the tight end 47. He's basically free. He's worth fourth-round picks on Keep Trade Cut. Most of my leagues don't even have fourth-round rookie picks. And then there's Ben Sinnott, tight end 14, worth an early 2025 second. I mean, you know my answer to this question, because I can't stop talking about him. So, Jake, I'll let you answer this question. Which of those four assets would you like to have the most, with Jaden Daniels as the quarterback?
I want a tight end. I can't tell you which tight end is going to be this year. But with all those values, I can probably give an early third and get Dotson, and that's who I want.
I don't disagree with that. I'm surprised. I was surprised when I read that, how far out people were on Dotson, because I thought I was out on Dotson, but I'm like, if I can throw a third at Dotson, that might be worth it.
And Dotson is the wide receiver 2 on that. You have De'Ami Brown, who has a chance this year to become relevant. I think he's the wide receiver 3 on that team right now. And in the interview yesterday, the head coach was talking about how they all have different roles. There's not a Terry's the guy, and then below all the receivers have their roles. But Dotson gets the screenplays. He's shifty, gets open. I think he'll build that rapport and has potential to be what people wanted him to be last year. But we'll see. But with all those values, I want Dotson. Tight end, I'm really not looking at. But if you want to hold Ben Sinnott, like you've said, and you've been high on. But Ertz, inconsistent, old.
Give me Ben Sinnott, baby. Ben Sinnott is the real guy I want. I want nothing to do with Terry. Truthfully, I wouldn't pay a first for Terry McLaurin. I think he is who he is at this point. He's a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3. You can find plenty of those. You can have multiple players and just go in and out. You could have Khalil Shakir and Romeo Dobbs and just try and play the matchups and probably get that kind of production on a week-to-week basis. And they come at a much cheaper cost than Terry McLaurin does. I'm not paying a first for 30-year-old Terry McLaurin. I'm not.
Man, that's a hot take. Or not a hot take, just a interesting take.
I mean, am I really getting what am I getting? 12 points per game with McLaurin? Like, why would I pay a first for that? Especially at this point when he's 30 years old.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I see your logic there. Just like to see that you would rather have Dobbs than somebody else and play mixed match.
Yeah, like if I could sell Terry McLaurin for a first and then like flip the seconds for those two players, like that's a come up because nobody's flipping 2 seconds for nobody's selling a first for 2 seconds. But if I can get the same production, why not? And here's finishes, right? We've got wide receiver 28, wide receiver 14, 25, 20, and 29. So like 14 looking like an outlier at this point, and yeah, I'm out on Terry McLaurin. Tim Hawkins corrects me. He's 28. He'll be 29, I think, at the end of September. I think he turns 29 at the end of September. I wasn't sure if he was already 29 but I know that his birthday is like the first month of the season.
True. Up next, we have the Houston Texans.
This is an intriguing one.
This is a scary one.
This is very clear to me. Like I think that there's been a lot of talk about this room, and I have very clear wants, and whatnot about it. So we've got the Houston Texans wide receiver room. We've got Stephon Diggs valued at the wide receiver 41, worth an early 2025 second, according to Keep Trade Cut. Nico Collins, wide receiver 16, somewhere between an early and a mid 2025 first. If I did early 2025 first, it was too much. If I did mid, it wasn't enough. So that's kind of where he falls. Tank Dell, wide receiver 19, same thing as Nico, between an early and a mid. Dalton Schultz, tight end 18, a mid 2025 second or early 2026 second. And Joe Mixon, the RB 25, early 2025 second. The one thing that jumps out off the page to me is Tank Dell's a sell. The question is, who got Jake Cheesin like he is when he's looking at his phone?
It's always you, Timmy. It's always you.
What's his name, man?
Got to keep that one a secret. I'm talking to this guy, Pat. Yeah.
I'm sure. Good catch, Tim. But so the number one thing that jumps out off the page to me, if I can get an early or a mid first for Tank Dell, goodbye.
Right.
Gone. Long gone.
Man got hurt blocking. It doesn't get worse than that. He's a small receiver. You're not going to see a lot. But Nico Collins, I think, is the long-term answer here.
Yep. I think mid-first, I could be convinced to gamble on Nico Collins for a mid-first.
But to me, there's no question about this. I'm not taking a gamble on any of those receivers or the love of my life, Dalton Schultz. Mr. 4 years in a row, tied in one, but we'll get past that. Joe Mixon is the player you want on this team. And I would gladly give up a second for him.
Yeah, you've been a big Joe Mixon stan. It's a shame Joey's not on this show. I'm sure he'd be loving to talk about Joe Mixon right now.
He was here earlier, yeah.
I would gamble on Steph Diggs as a contender for a 25 second. If I don't have to give up a one to get on Diggs, I would gamble on it. Even if I did have Diggs and I might consider a late first. I would think about maybe a late first if Diggs in a second was on the table.
Okay. But back to Joe Mixon. Finished last year as running back 6. Year before 10, 4, got hurt, only played 6 games, 13, 10, rookie season. That's the main one.
Canelo asks, thanks for tuning in, Canelo. You think taking Stroud at 214 in a Dynasty Keeper League is a bad idea? I have a couple questions. First off, how many teams? Looks like probably 14, maybe 16. Secondly, is it Dynasty or is it Keeper? Those are two different things. Third of all, is it super flex or is it one quarterback? If you can answer those questions for me, I can give you a better answer.
Man, a Dynasty Keeper League?
I'm assuming it's.
I assume it's just the Keeper League in general.
Yeah, it's Keeper League.
And so, for me, 214.
If it's super flex, this is a slam dunk.
Yeah, but do Keeper Leagues do super flex? I haven't heard much
I mean, they probably do. They probably alter the keeper rules.
Yeah, because I mean,
Yeah,
at that
my
point,
bad. Keeper league. No worries, man. All good. One quarterback. Okay.
Okay. That's a
So,
little high for me,
so,
personally.
so for what it's worth, because we usually play in 12 teams. If that's a 14-team league, that pick is the 28th pick, which is the equivalent to like a mid-third when we usually do it.
Mm-hmm.
So in a keeper, and keeping 8. Oh yeah, I'm keeping Stroud.
Oh, well then, yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm keeping Stroud.
If you get to keep 8, why not?
Yeah, if it's 14 teams, like I thoroughly expect CJ Stroud to finish in the top 14 most seasons. So yeah. Yeah, I don't actually hate that.
The only problem with CJ Stroud as fantasy owners is he does not rush the ball. So you are relying heavily on touch. I assume it's a 4 touchdown point, like 4-point touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't necessarily hate it. That's mid-third. Jake, by the way, we just touched 40.
We did. I saw we touched 40.
Yeah, so I don't know what your rules are. That was kind of your game. I know the first one you did last time was at 40.
I thought we were getting to 50 and I was shotgunning one.
That's up to you, man. I'm just making suggestions.
You know what? If the chat wants me to
shotgun
one,
we want Jake to chug a beer because we hit 40 views.
You know what? Give me 5 yeses that aren't Tim Hawkins or Tim Brandt, and I'll do it.
Yeah, and now we're back up to 40. I need 5 yeses from non-Tims that say, yeah, let's do this.
From non-Timmy boys.
If both Tim Brandt and Tim Hawkins say yes, then that counts as 1 yes.
Oh, we're just making up rules at this point?
Yeah, so Houston wide receiver room, again, I'm out on at that value. I think we can both agree. Tank Dell, fucking goner. I might gamble on Nico Collins for mid-2025 first because I do believe he is the long-term X receiver for CJ Stroud. I think he's kind of the guy to own moving forward for multiple seasons. However, I don't hate Steph Diggs at an early second.
I don't either. I think he'll be productive. But, man, I would love to see how this draft fell.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to, if you got a Twitter, Canelo, go ahead and follow us at BSing_sports and send us your draft board. I'm curious to see what that looks like.
We'd love to see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joe Mixon is the player to have for me because he has no competition. He's going to be consistent. What's up, sis?
What up? What up? Hey, comment yes. You don't need to know the context why. Just comment yes.
But, man, 40 views. I'll take that any day of the week.
Yeah. So
people just like our shenanigans, I guess.
You're big on Mixon. I'm big on Diggs at those costs. And we both kind of agree on Nico and Tank Dell where they kind of sit out on those guys. Our last topic for the show, unfortunately, everything has to come to an end. Will Levis. So we talked about Bo Nix, and that name's referenced because they're very close on Keep Trade Cut. Will Levis, quarterback 23, somewhere between a late 2025 first and an early 2025 second, or a late 2026 second. He's a little bit cheaper than Bo Nix. What are your expectations this year for Will Levis in fantasy? And are you comfortable with him being a QB2 moving forward on your roster?
Will Levis is the ultimate gamble here. D-Hop did just get hurt. We have Calvin Ridley on the team, and you have Spears and Pollard. And is this the year Chig goes out? What is that offense going to ultimately look like? Ooh, Ken Brandt. We got 1 yes. We have 1 yes right now. Draft is still going on, but it's not big on my running backs.
Let's see those running backs.
Let's see them. I want to see them.
42 views. We're 8 away from Jake chugging a beer. So go ahead and share this on every platform that you have.
Please share it.
Yeah, Canelo, type yes. Kristen, type yes.
It's Kirsten, but close enough.
Oh yeah, Kirsten. Yep, my bad. I'm stupid. I did just get my.
Will Levis is the ultimate wild card because he had that first great game against Atlanta where he threw 4 touchdowns. Everybody thought he was the second coming of Tom Brady himself. But my big scare.
I will say that throw off his back foot to Nick Westbrook-Akini was insane.
Chat's flaming me right now. You know what? Before we end the show, I will shotgun it, chat, just because y'all have been typing.
Hey, there we
We
go.
got some great questions. I'll do it for the chat. But biggest wild card, don't know what to expect of him, and so I'm kind of staying away from him. I have him in a few leagues, but he's my quarterback 3, so I'm not really worried about it. As far as quarterback 2, you're scared because in how many games did he start last year? 9? He had 26.6 points, 8.6 points, 5.9 points, 12.5, 7.1, 11, 16, 14, -1. He only played 24% of the snaps in that, so I'm going to let it go. But so you get the 16 and the 26 you're happy with. To me, anything below 16 points as a starting quarterback, especially a quarterback 2, you hate. Because at that point, you could probably throw in a flex player there that would score equal points there.
I think you might be overestimating what a QB2 actually scores.
I just go off of
probably closer to 12 or 13 points on a weekly basis. Like if you go down and look at QB 24 like per week, it's probably closer to 12 or 13.
For me, what I like to look at is I always go heavy on quarterbacks in Superflex. So
I've seen your quarterback rooms. Some of them are heavy, some of them are trash. I mean, you're starting Bo Nix in a couple leagues.
In my rebuild in auto. I'm sorry, dude.
Bro, you have like 6 shares of Bo Nix.
Yeah, no, I bought him in everything. There was no Team Homer. That is me. But Levis does have the running upside. He has the arm. And so he is the ultimate wild card at quarterback to me. And I honestly don't know what to do with him. I have a few shares. If it pans out, that's cool. If I could get a first for him, I'm doing that, though. And that's kind of how I look at that.
I think this is pretty fair value. I think that there's enough in place that Will Levis can produce like mid QB2 this season. I think he's athletic enough. I think the coaching improvements are big. I think that the offensive line improvements are big. And while D-Hop and Ridley are not D-Hop and Ridley 5 years ago, I think they're good enough. So I think there's enough in place that Will Levis can produce and do something. I think if I'm a gambling man, I would gamble on Will Levis for a late 26 first for sure. And last but not least on this show, we have Chug. Jake's coming back with his chug right now. I do not keep beer at the house, so I do not have anything on hand available to drink.
Okay. For the chat.
For the chat, baby.
Because I love y'all oh so much. And the enjoyment I get out of doing this.
Are you putting it in a glass so we can see your fish?
We didn't get to 50.
All right, that's fair. Challenge you guys next time. Get us to 50 so we can all watch Jake chug beer out of a glass, which is a sight to behold. I've never talked about somebody chugging beer out of a glass so much until I saw you do that shit this weekend.
Cheers to the chat. Here's the Bo Nix, hopefully securing the quarterback job.
Here comes Jared Stidham's backup.
Shut up. Cheers, chat.
And ladies and gentlemen, that will do it here on BSing Sports, part of the BSing Network, where we do a little BS and we talk a whole lot of sports. Have a good night.